Hey folks, welcome back to another Palm Master video, and today we're going to talk about, the last of the end of the month, I guess, sort of tier list stuff, right? And this is just going to be the damage dealers, right? Mostly strikers, some techs, not too many supports. I don't think any. Are there any supports in the damage dealers tier list at all? Yeah, probably not. Because, I mean, most supports are, that do damage are probably in hybrid, right? So makes sense that there really aren't much or any, right? So yeah, as usual, again, just in terms of how powerful these units are, not in terms of which ones you should probably spend your gems on, right? Not that it's really relevant. Most of these banners aren't really up. So yeah, probably gonna be drastically different very soon, especially if they drop like a new mode or something with the second year anniversary, or if something mixes them up. Like, for example, if N gets his Unova passive, or we get some other regional passive that could help a lot of these units out, right? So anyways, again, shout out to Ranjo and Johnson for helping me create this, right? And let's get into this. Let's, as usual, just start with, I guess, just one in each tier, right? Starting from the top. Let's go for something very, very obvious. Where's Kyogre? Yeah, there's Kyogre. As usual, units that are like top tiers in like both tier lists, we just put them there, right? Obviously also top tier in high, but it's arguably the strongest unit in the game right now in terms of the current meta. Rain teams are incredibly broken, right? Water type's the strongest type by like a mile, right now, and Kyogre's incredibly powerful, right? Damage is off the charts, on top of all the other things it does and helps its team do, right? So Kyogre is definitely up there, right? Moving on to very good A and B. So here's the interesting part. Like, we used to have like these two tiers in like one tier. We kind of split them a bit just because there were a bit too many units and the range was a bit too large. So we split that tier into two to make it a bit more, I guess, detailed, right? So something that could go in very good A would be, for example, let's say, where's Duraludon? Duraludon, there's Duraludon. Yeah, something like Duraludon, right? Very, very big damage, especially much better now that Ingo is a unit, right? Kind of struggled before Ingo, but now that Ingo is a unit, like, this thing is incredible, right? Damage, again, very, very, very high. Ingo fixes a lot of its issues. Its damage, gauge, all that stuff. It's fantastic, as I accidentally click back on that. Anyways, let's get back up there, and cool. In very good B would be something like Hala, right? Damage, very, very good. No arguing with the damage, right? Sync nuke, very, very nice. Speed, very, very slow, unfortunately. And there isn't much of a fix to that. And the team comps aren't as good as some of the other units up there, right? Moving on into maybe something a bit lower, something like a great. We could put Hilda in there. Very, very powerful sync nuke. Is fire type. Has some potions which are nice here and there. Yeah, Flare Blitz does really good damage as well, so that's pretty solid, unit fit there, right? Moving on, speaking of fire types, a maybe not as good one. Ethan, however, is very, very, very fast in comparison to something like Hilda. However, obviously he doesn't do anything special on his sync for one, and his damage is very inconsistent due to the amount of multipliers he needs to keep his, again, damage consistent, and also the fact that Eruption just gets like killed every time like he takes damage, right? Which is not very fun. Moving on to something in the decent tier, I'd say something like Celine, maybe. Her damage is just not very good, unfortunately. And especially Yexeline, you would have to Spirit Shackle like every single unit on the opponent's team, so that's like 3 turns wasted on, not that Spirit Shackle is not doing damage, it is doing damage, right? It's not that good, and this setup is just slightly wonky, plus even with her full setup, she just doesn't do that much damage, unfortunately, right? Moving on into the usable, I guess. Tier would be something like, I guess, Miss Magius. Her damage is very mediocre. Doesn't really do that much, right? And yeah, she's very, very, very average. Moving on to something like rarely used, we could put something like Machamp in there. Fun kit, very slow, and no grid, damage bad, right? And then something not very useful would be like Norman. This guy is just terrible, right? Damage isn't even that great. His normal types are not super effective against anything, and then you take recoil without that much of a mitigation. It's just, yeah, probably the worst unit in the whole game at the moment. Moving on. Let's just keep on going, I guess, from left to right over here. Wally could probably be in very good B. His Sync Nuke is not very great, unfortunately. Right, the set him all that stuff. Focus Blast does a lot of damage, though. Does a lot of damage. So overall, really, really, you know, nice, powerful fighting type striker, right? And speaking of fighting type strikers, we got B, which has a much, much, much better Sync Nuke for one, and gets gauges back every time you crit, which is also nice. Has 4-gauge move that is not super powerful for a 4-gauge move, but I mean still powerful because it's a 4-gauge move. But yeah, it's outside of that, just it's kind of like Hala if Hala was more manageable gauge wise and had better team comps, right? Yeah, I think yeah, these two are kind of similar. Moving on, Chantel's just okay-ish, I guess. She does, yeah, she's not like terrible. Muzza, however, not very good. Lear is probably a top 3 damage dealer in the game, right? Up there with like Groudon, Kyogre. Probably not as good as Groudon, Kyogre overall, just because of how powerful, you know, Groudon, Kyogre are with their support, you know, capabilities. But still very, very, very good, right? Obviously. Hyperspace Hold does 1 billion damage. His Sync Nuke does 1 billion damage. He has Psychic type, so he benefits from very, very good team comps with incredibly powerful Psychic units like Sabrina, Bianca, right? All that stuff. Yeah. Oh, the Sync Move countdown thing is very, very, very good as well, right? You get, you know, 2 rounds off of your Sync Move countdown, which is very, very powerful. Cynthia again got better with Ingo, right? Got better with Ingo. Her main issues still are there, unfortunately, being the AoE spread damage, not that great. Doesn't do much under sync. Just overall, damage isn't as impressive as some of the higher tier units, but she's still fine, right? Karina is fine. Kind of glassy. Damage is actually solid. Sync doesn't really do anything. Alright, but she's fine. She's fine overall. Bugsy's just not very good. Her moves are pretty bad. Or his moves are pretty bad. Sorry. Marnie's still fantastic, right? One of the top tier strikers. Incredible, you know, Sync Nuke, obviously. And a 2-gauge spammable, right, that does a lot of damage as well with very, very, very low gauge cost. So it's very, very easy to slot her in a lot of teams as a secondary striker. Solgaleo, decent, I guess. Flying type damage, not bad. Steel type damage is also not terrible, but like, for example, compared to like Raihan, like you're nowhere close, right? Nowhere close. Lance, really, really good damage on Hyper Beams, obviously. Incredibly good damage on Hyper Beams, but outside of that, doesn't really do that much, unfortunately, right? Potions are there, but like, yeah, it doesn't have that much overall going for him outside of the very big damage Hyper Beams, which is why he's up there, right? Very, very good. Dukeon's okay, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, he's fine. Dukeon's okay. Houndoom, kind of in between, I guess. Maybe like at the top. These aren't like ordered left to right though. But yeah. Houndoom's good. Like the Dark Pulse damage is also very, very good. However, Houndoom does have a few critical weaknesses. First of all, being you have to sync with Houndoom to make Houndoom useful at all, right? And you have some pretty limited team comp stuff as well with Houndoom, unfortunately. Moving on, even though she does buff herself relatively well, right? Which is a bit of a shame. Moving on, Zinnia. Zinnia is very, very powerful, right? Especially when you run her with either one of the Hoenn Legends, right? The Hoenn Master Fairs. She just is incredible. They just work together so well, right? We got Olivia over here. Olivia's okay. Her Sync Nuke does a lot of damage, right? Stone Edge even not that much, but it's just a overall solid striker, right? Brennan's still very good, as long as you don't miss your relief storms. Leaves means fine. Second air striker. What else we got? Oh, that's the wrong one. There. This Gyarados, I mean, it's pretty much where the other Lance is at. I mean, they're pretty similar in terms of how they operate, I guess. Gyarados is a bit slightly more complicated than Lance or the regular Dragonite. Doesn't do as much damage, but it does have a bit more flexibility in terms of team comps, I guess. Actually, I don't know. Might be a bit more restricted just because of this, of what he needs. Yeah, I take that back. A bit more restricted. Singsu Grimsy is fine, very, very fast. Solid damage, good Sync Nuke. Braviary is usable, I guess. All the stats are pretty bad. Damage is pretty bad, but it's usable. Leon's obviously still very good. Master passive, you know, one of the top damage dealers in the game with Sun, right? The has also coverage, which is cool. Cyrus is still obviously very, very powerful with Hydro Pump. One of the, you know, also another top damage dealer in the game. Morty's fine, right? He has a blind spot Sync Nuke, which is nice. His other moves suck. Tate's not that great. Mighty Ina, he used to be really good because of like his like age management and stuff, right? And his self, I guess, reliability. However, there's just been better units that could do that nowadays, and it's just not as special, right? And his overall damage just isn't too crazy, so that's why he's a bit lower now, unfortunately. Glow's pretty fast. Damage is pretty low though, right? Unless you get the opponent to sync, which usually you're trying to clear stages before the opponent sinks. But even after the opponent sinks, like her damage isn't like crazy, but her speed and gauge management is pretty nice though. Always have. Alder, we did move him down a bit just because, like, I mean, it's just very hard to justify like Alder in the same tier as like Kyogre, right? Like, it was, if like Kyogre, Groudon, Leer, whatever didn't exist, then it would make a bit more sense. It's, another debate we had was like, if we want to like make another tier just to put Groudon, Kyogre, and Hoopa in like their own tier, which is, yeah, they are clearly better than like all the other units down here, but like, it's probably not worth the trouble. It's probably just better to move Alder down one. He's still good though. He's still good. Very, very, very powerful, right? Blue is fine. He also has that same weakness that Karen has, right? Because like he also has to sync, which is slightly unfortunate. His overall stats are really nice though. His setup's not good, unfortunately. Jesse's okay. This guy's good. Good damage, right? Overall. Setup's pretty easy too. Elisa's still, yeah, right, very powerful. Sync Nuke. Her main move does some pretty good damage as well. Speed's very nice. Things with Cynthia is just her jam is just not very great. Plus it is AoE. Plus she's very slow. Plus she debuffs her defense every time she attacks. Oh man, I don't know. I love using things with Cynthia, but it's just unfortunate. She's just not that great at the moment. Dath is still good. She's very Hyper Beam, basically. There's a lot of damage. I'm sorry if I'm going through these a bit too quick, because, I mean, there's just way too many damage dealers. Don't want to spend forever, right? Juliara's okay, right? I don't really think her EX makes her much better, because, like, we've talked about this before, but, like, you're bringing, like, someone to put the opponent to sleep anyways. Doesn't really matter if your sync is an AoE sleep, because, again, most likely you're running Serena with her anyways. Karen is fine. Very, very easy to set up. Damage cap isn't super high, right? Not as high as Houndoom, but much, much easier to set up and slot into teams. Berg's not bad. Berg's not bad at all. Her, you know, overall, or his overall damage is solid. Speed's very good, right? Pretty nice unit. Nessa's still very, very powerful. Her sync is incredibly good. Her move gauge management is also really nice. The different type coverage that she has is good, right? Plus, she could also, you know, constantly help debuff defenses as well, which is really nice. KU is just not good. Mallow is pretty powerful, right? Really powerful sync nuke. Power is pretty powerful as well. Overall, this guy's bad. He's still good, right? Overall damage is not bad, right? Has a pretty good sync nuke as well. What else? How is fast? Pretty powerful sync nuke. Unfortunately, discharge does like no damage, which is not very fun. Actually, yeah, just discharge just doesn't do too well, unfortunately. This Gloria is pretty powerful, right? Your overall numbers are very, very, very high. The coverage is nice too, I guess. Her setup's just not very good, unfortunately. Her setup kind of sucks. He's okay-ish. Here's a new unit. Leon is okay, right? His overall damage is just not very great. Obviously, his max move is nice to have, right? But like his overall and like his Dynamax cannon damage is not very good, right? You do have to wait. It like he basically has the same issue that Gloria has, except he does also have a sync nuke and a max move, right? But if he didn't have these, he'd be at the same level as Gloria. But he does have them, so that's why he's probably a bit better, right? But again, his just damage is very poor overall. For a unit of his caliber, obviously. Moving on, N is fine, right? His team comp is not very good, unfortunately. And that might be the issue with like a lot of electric type strikers for a while, minus like Marnie. Marnie could do whatever, right? It's more so Volkner. Volkner's a great unit, don't get me wrong. But like a lot of these just like require way too much, so it's really hard to like both and Lisa and Hao as well, right? Again, Marnie could get her own, right? But like these three, it's just harder to get their stats maxed out, and then you know Volkner doesn't help with that, and Volkner's damage is there, but you also a lot of times you want to double Volkner as also a tank as well. So you're like these units, they're just giving Volkner too much pressure to handle things. But again, still a really good unit, big damage, right? Claire is really bad setup, right? Just atrocious setup overall. Her damage cap is very high, however, her setup is just terrible. Moving on, Barry. Good sync nuke, bad everything else, basically. Chris has a sync nuke, I guess, which is something. Meg kicks fine when it doesn't miss. She does have better supports now than she did a long time ago, right? Mewtwo's pretty powerful on both ends. She's okay. He's pretty frail. Doesn't do too much, unfortunately. But you are fire type, so get carried by sun. This guy's Damage is pretty solid. She's not that great. He's okay. She's a Brendan if Brendan doesn't have grid, and is not as good. She's just bad. Same for her, or him, and him, and him. He's slightly better, I guess. He's also not good. And these are fantastic. Alright, so yeah, that's basically it. Again, not too many new units to discuss. The real, I guess, big change over here is just we split the second tier into 2 halves, right? It's just a bit more, I guess, clear in terms of what this tier is, I guess, in terms, right? It does create more tiers though, so it doesn't mean like, oh, if see like what, like Singsu Cynthia's in the what, 1 2 3 4 1 2 3, the Singsu Cynthia's in the 5th tier. Does not mean she's terrible and you can't use her. She's still fine. She would obliterate Dragon Week stages easily, right? It's just there's more tiers. It doesn't mean like it makes it seem like units are just worse now because they're much lower on the list, but we just split a tier. It just makes it look like that way, but overall, I mean, anything above like this tier is like solid, usable, good, decent, whatever you want to call it, right? Oh, these two, oops, put them in the wrong one, or wrong line of actually no I looked at the completely wrong line over here. All these are down here, not up there, unfortunately. But yeah, that's I guess basically where they all are, and yeah, hopefully I didn't mess any other ones up. Yeah, they're in a good place. These just are the, I guess, slightly better gridless strikers, right? Overall, these are probably the weakest among the gridded strikers, plus Will, because Will's just solid, right? He's like a Bianca without Psychic Terrain and any of the other non-damage things Bianca does, basically. So yeah, that's gonna be it for this one, I guess. Hope y'all enjoyed it. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Like, enjoy this video, subscribe to my channel for some more Performance content, I guess. And I'll see you guys in the next one.